It's crazy. Never in a million years if you told WNBA fans, if you told basketball fans, if you told Indiana Fever fans that they would be one game away from the WNBA Finals without Caitlin Clark, nobody would have believed you. Nobody would have thought that was possible. Nobody would have thought that was true. Before the season started, we heard about the noise in the free agency. We heard about them getting DeWanna Bada, Natasha Howard, and the expectations were so high. They were so large, and people were talking about the Indiana Fever possibly having the opportunity to go to the WNBA Finals with Caitlin Clark, with Natasha Howard, with Sophia Cunningham, with all those pieces, DeWanna Bonner. And now when you strip away DeWanna Bonner, when you say Sophia Cunningham is out for an injury, when you take away Caitlin Clark, and yet the Indiana Fever still have a chance to go to the WNBA Finals, nobody would have thought this was possible. Nobody, if you told anybody that's a sensible fan of basketball that the Indiana Fever will have a chance to go to the WNBA Finals and be one game short away without their best player, without Sophia Cunningham, with DeWanna Bonner in Phoenix, with all the plethora of injuries that they had throughout the year with Sophia Cunningham, with McDonald. Nobody would have thought this was reality, and yet here we are. This is why we love sports. This is why we always say next man up. This is why you have to play the game. You can't worry about narratives. You can't worry about projections. You can't worry about who's on the court, who's off the court, because at the end of the day, when that ball tips, it's go time. It's time to lock in. And we've seen the Indiana Fever this entire year with that mentality, next man up, continue to play. Caitlin Clark's in and out of the lineup. Caitlin Clark is playing. She's not playing, and they shut her down, and she's going to come back. They kept playing. Kelsey Mitchell kept rocking, kept balling, became a top 10 basketball player in the world this year, top 5 MVP candidates, going to be a first-team All-WNBA member this year. Aaliyah Boston kept developing, and now we are here that the Indiana Fever may go to the WNBA Finals and one game short away from the WNBA Finals. And we have a Game 5 coming on Tuesday. And we had an excellent matchup with Aja Wilson versus Aaliyah Boston, 2 South Carolina legends. And this is what the playoffs are made for. This is what brings excitement. This is what brings joy. This is what brings that energy. And this is good for the WNBA because it shows the parity. It shows that the league is extremely talented. And once again, nobody would have told anybody that the Indiana Fever, without Caitlin Clark, they would have a chance to go to the WNBA Finals. Nobody could have predicted that. And then the thing about it is, people are going to come out and say that the Indiana Fever are better than Caitlin Clark if they go to the WNBA Finals, if they win this series. We all know that's not true. But at the end of the day, what matters is availability. And the players that are playing, and this team has continuity, and they have chemistry, and they believe, because the fact of the matter is they won without Caitlin Clark and played without Caitlin Clark all year long, and they won the Commissioner's Cup, and Caitlin Clark was in and out of the lineup. You have to continue to play. These players are all professionals. They are all hoopers. They all get paid the big bucks to play the game. And the Indiana Fever, having that support from not only Caitlin Clark, the bench mob with Sophia Cunningham and Caitlin Clark and McDonald, but also having that support for the fans too. Some of the fans we know in Indiana, and even the WNBA that started watching the WNBA and became fans of Caitlin Clark, and then started watching the WNBA and became fans of the whole league. And some people are just Caitlin Clark fans, but what happened was when you take and strip Caitlin Clark away, some of the same fans that support Caitlin Clark were forced to become Indiana Fever fans. They were forced to lock in on this team. They were forced to appreciate Kelsey Mitchell. They were forced to appreciate Aaliyah Boston. They were forced to appreciate Lexi Hull, and they became actual Indiana Fever fans and not just Caitlin Clark fans. And now we are witnessing, maybe it's just the Indiana's year. We saw the Indiana Pacers go to the finals. Maybe this year is just a year of the unthinkable. Just like the Indiana Pacers. Nobody would have thought prior to the season starting that the Indiana Pacers would have gone to the NBA Finals. Nobody would have thought prior to the season that in an injury-riddled season with the Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark being in and out the lineup, then being shut down, Sophia Cunningham having a major injury, Ari McDonald having a major injury. Nobody would have thought with DeWanna Bonner and the situation that happened with her and her being released, nobody would have thought that this Indiana Fever team would go and push a team with 4 Olympians to the brink of elimination in a do or die game 5. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win because we know playing at home, we know the Las Vegas Aces have experience. They should close out the Indiana Fever. But what if the Indiana Fever go to the WNBA Finals? All hell is going to break loose. Positively and negatively, because you got a lot of people that are going to talk because they've been talking all year. And those people aren't basketball fans. Those people are Caitlin Clark haters. But the thing about it is, they're going to sit up and say, well, the Indiana Fever made it this far without Caitlin Clark. They didn't need Caitlin Clark. And nobody is going to, that's sensible, that's actually an analyst. Everybody knows that the Indiana Fever are a much better team with Caitlin Clark because they're much better. Any team is a much better team with their starting point guard. But sometimes when you have a unique situation like the Indiana Fever have had all year where they were able to galvanize the troops, next man up mentality, and they did not play victim. They kept pushing, they kept competing, they kept showcasing their ability because at the end of the day, they are professionals. And I'm sure as they hear the noise, they hear people say things, they hear people talk, and that probably motivated them to show like, yo, we know Caitlin Clark is our engine. She's our steering wheel, but I can load that thing up too. Aaliyah Boston, I was the number 1 overall pick. And Aaliyah Boston today, what more can we say? Aaliyah Boston with her best game in a must-win game for the Indiana Fever to force game 5, her best career game in the playoffs. And the people that are going to talk about Aaliyah Boston and they used to say Aaliyah Boston was soft. They used to talk about and question her mentality. Now those same people that are saying Aaliyah Boston is a dirty player, she's always using her elbow in the post. And to be honest, it was a lot of crying going on, especially on social media and the timelines. But the truth of the matter is, post scores being physical are going to go to the line. When you are physical, when you are aggressive, when you are playing and absorbing through contact in the post, you will be rewarded at the charity strike. So I don't really understand all the crying about Aaliyah Boston's game and people talking about she's dirty, because some same people that are talking about she was dirty last year was talking about she was soft. And Aaliyah Boston, A'ja Wilson gave us one of the best post battles we have seen in WNBA history from a head-to-head standpoint in this game 3. A'ja Wilson, MVP, co-defensive player of the year this year. Aaliyah Boston was making her work. Offensively, Aaliyah Boston was going to work. They ran a flat action, cleared out the side, ran that about 5 to 6 times, and it was nothing A'ja Wilson can do about it. Because Aaliyah Boston and her footwork, her aggressiveness, her strength, her being able to absorb contact and using her up fake to get Aaliyah Boston off her feet and A'ja Wilson, off her feet and draw fouls and finishing through. They ran that action. Sophia Cunningham ran that action several times in the fourth quarter. And sometimes basketball is very simple. We're gonna run a flat action, clear out, get Aaliyah Boston the ball, and let her go 1-on-1 with the defensive player of the year. And they did that. But A'ja Wilson was still hooping, carrying the Las Vegas Aces on her back, and 30-plus points again, 7th most in playoff history. Only to tie with A'ja Wilson was doing her thing as well, offensively and defense. Once I said it was one of the best post battles we've seen in recent memory. Angel Wilson, 30-plus points. It's her 7th career game in the playoffs with 30-plus points. She's tied with Diana Taurasi for the most 30-plus points in WNBA history. She's probably going to break that next game because they're going to need this same Angel Wilson that they saw in Game 3. They're going to need that Game 4. They're going to need that going forward. This is fun. This is exciting. And then Angel Wilson was also playing exceptional defense as well. But this matchup with Aaliyah Boston and Angel Wilson makes you appreciate head-to-head component of basketball and makes you appreciate that the WNBA hasn't gotten away from some of the traditional positions in the game of basketball. Makes you appreciate that post battles are still important and still thriving, because in the NBA game, we do not see that. So this was a phenomenal game with Aaliyah Boston and Angel Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces and the Indiana Fever. And now we got a do or die Game 5. And all I'm going to say is, don't let the Las Vegas Aces lose, because this would be one of the biggest upsets in recent memory if the Las Vegas Aces choke at home. And I don't think they're going to, because I believe Angel Wilson is going to have a generational game, because I've been saying it all postseason long. I know that the Las Vegas Aces have 4 Olympians. I know that they went on that crazy run to even go from being barely in the playoffs to being a top seed in the playoffs. But I'm going to say it again. Angel Wilson has to be LeBron James on every given night for them to have a chance to win and have a chance to just make it to the WNBA Finals, let alone win the WNBA Finals. She has to be 2018 version of LeBron every single night for them to have a chance. I know what the roster says when we look at the roster, but this roster and those Olympians that they have, this ain't the same Chelsea Gray that we've grown accustomed to seeing in her prime. This ain't the same Jewel Lloyd, oh my goodness, that we've seen in her prime, even last year. Don't even get me started on this situation. But at the end of the day, nobody is going to want to hear that. Angel Wilson, it will be a legacy game for Angel Wilson come Game 5. And I believe she's going to show up, and she's going to have to show up, because Lord have mercy if she does not, and the Indiana Fever go to the WNBA Finals without Caitlin Clark, and they knock off the MVP and co-defensive player of the year doing that. Oh my God, it's going to be a thing. It's your boy, Mike K. Smith. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on AKIS NBA on all the platforms talking about WNBA and the NBA. Of course, remember, faith without works is dead. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. And always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. And I'm gone, man. Remember, the game is the game, man. The game is the game. Appreciate y'all.